Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my October 2015 wrap-up. So I have already posted a October mid-month wrap-up in which I covered the first 6 books that I completed in October, which I will link down below, so I won't be talking about those books, so check that video out. If you want to see what I read at the beginning of the month. This video will just be covering the books that I read from the 16th through the 31st. I managed to get quite a lot of reading done in the second half of the month. I managed to read 8 books, 1 graphic novel, and 1 novella. So let's just jump straight in and we'll talk about what I read. The first book I want to talk about is Charmed Thirds by Megan McCafferty. This is the 3rd book in the Jessica Darling series. This book, the first 2 books in the series followed Jessica in high school, and this book actually follows her as she has moved through to college. This book actually covers her entire 4 years. 4 years, I think she ends up graduating early, so however long, her entire college experience. And I actually wasn't expecting that, and I kind of feel like maybe I would have preferred it if there'd been 2 books over this period, so we got to see more of her life. This book it's kind of in diary format. It's Jessica's diary, and there are a lot less entries, like over periods of time, in this book, which is why it covers a longer period of time. And having said that, I wish there were 2 books. I do think that that is more realistic, as people who write in diaries and such, I do feel like sometimes fall away with writing kind of every day and things like that when they are in college. So I did think it was realistic to the story, but I just felt like I didn't get to see as much of Jessica's life in college as I would have liked. I definitely didn't enjoy this book as much as the first 2 in the series, but I did still definitely enjoy it. And I ended up giving it 3 stars. I am interested to see, I think there's a further 2 books in the series still, and I'm definitely interested to see where it goes going forward, as obviously it's going to be with Jessica post-college, but I'm not sure when post-college. Like, are we going to be seeing her getting married and having kids, or moving through her career, things like that? I'm not too sure, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where the series goes from here. The next book I picked up was What She Left Behind by Tracy Belen. This book follows a main character who, it's her and her mother and her father. Her brother has previously passed away, and she's living with her mother and her father is abusive, and her mother make this plan to escape her abusive father, but her mother doesn't turn up at the appointed time. When she goes home, her father tells her that her mother is away on a business trip, but of course she doesn't believe him, and the story just kind of goes from there as we follow Sarah and her trying to figure out what's happened to her mother and what's truth and what is lies, etc. I did enjoy this book, but I definitely didn't feel 100% connected to it. The characters were good. There was the author did a really good job of like kind of demonizing this abusive father figure. Despite we had flashbacks to kind of happier times with the family, but despite that, I had no sympathy for this man whatsoever. Like, I completely despised him. So the author definitely did a good job with that. The romance in this story I felt was a little bit insta-lovey. However, Sarah also has a male best friend, and I appreciated that at no point whatsoever did that ever become like a romantic thing. Like, it never went into love triangle territory. Yes, it was mentioned a couple of times by the male love interest that he was a little bit jealous of this friend and thought that maybe there was a relationship, but at no time was there actually ever a relationship. Like, she never had romantic feelings towards her best friend, and he never had romantic feelings towards her, so that was really good. So I think if you enjoy a contemporary read with some darker themes, you would enjoy this. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. The next book I picked up was Love Edie by, and I apologize in advance, I'm definitely going to butcher this surname, Shawanda Pugh. I'm sorry if that's not right. This is a book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and the publishers Espresso Book Tours for approving me to read this one. This is a YA contemporary romance following a girl and a boy who have grown up together, lived next door to each other their whole lives. They are best friends, and we're seeing the story from the girl's point of view, and she's in love with her best friend, and it's just kind of a romance story about them being best friends and her being in love with him. This book has some really great diversity. The female main character, Edie, is African American, and the male main character, Hassan, is Indian. And so it just has a lot of great diversity, and it added a lot to the general romance story, as Hassan is like promised to a girl back in India. Like, he is supposed to have an arranged marriage like when he gets older, and so it is never going to be a situation where Edie and Hassan could be together, and Edie has known that her whole life. Obviously, this being a story about two people who have grown up together their whole lives and have known each other their whole lives, it's definitely not an insta-lovey story. It really is a true and like lasting connection. Like, you really feel that between these two characters, so I really appreciated that as well. I definitely had some problems with this book as well, though. It does fall into some of the kind of standard YA contemporary romance traps. Hassan and his friends are extremely overprotective of Edie, and like to the point of like obsessiveness almost, and then like that really annoys me to read about. I also had a real problem with the way Edie treated the character of Wyatt in the story. He's basically a friend that she makes who is obviously has feelings for her, and who, to me, it just really felt like she was just using him. And I just really didn't like the way she treated him, and it was like as soon as she would get any attention from Hassan, she would immediately drop Wyatt, but then would be expecting him to be there to like spend time with her when she didn't have something else going on, and I just really didn't like that either. This is actually the first book in a series, and so the end part of this story I found to be extremely confusing. There was this scene that was happening, and I wasn't sure what was happening or what was going on, and it just kind of left me feeling very confused at the end of the story. I definitely did still enjoy the story, and I will be looking into the sequel, and I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. Oh, I forgot to mention that Love, Edie was the one and only book that I managed to complete for the Dewey's 24-hour readathon. I will leave a link down below to that video as well if you want to check out the vlog that I did for that readathon. The next book that I picked up was The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I read the majority of this during the Dewey's 24-hour readathon, but I didn't get it finished. I finished it shortly after the readathon finished. I don't have a whole lot to say about this book. I don't think... it's just not the type of book that I would feel comfortable like completely reviewing. I think it is a very important book. It is a book that I definitely enjoyed reading as much as you can enjoy reading something of this nature. I think it's a book that everyone should read. I gave it 4 stars, as much as you can give this kind of book a rating. But yeah, I definitely think everyone should read it. The next thing that I picked up was a graphic novel, Morning Glories Volume 1 by Nick Spencer and Joe Easma. This is, I've never read any other graphic novels aside from Saga, and I, having really enjoyed Saga, kind of wanted to dip my toe a bit further into the graphic novel world, and I'd heard a little bit about this one, and it sounded like something I would really enjoy. It kind of follows this group of teenagers who have all been accepted kind of at this boarding school. When they arrive at the boarding school, they discover that they all have the same birthday, and that the school is maybe not exactly what they had first thought. I definitely enjoyed this first installment in the series. I really liked the artwork. I'm no art critic, and I am not artistic like in the least myself, but I personally enjoyed the art in this story. I really enjoyed the plot. I have absolutely no idea what is going on, but that is kind of the point, I gather. So I definitely enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to picking up the next installment for sure. I gave this first volume 4 stars. The next book that I read was Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. I'm not sure what aspects of the plot of this book some people would consider to be spoilers, as I knew going in what this was about, and it is actually talked about in kind of the introduction, like before the book even starts, but I understood from some of the reviews that some people consider it to be a spoiler, so I don't want to spoil anyone unintentionally, so I'm going to put a little picture up here. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I will insert some kind of picture here, and if you don't want to be spoiled on this book, if you haven't read it and you do want to read it, then skip ahead or mute me until this picture goes away. So yes, some spoilers maybe commencing now. This is a book that follows a girl who was raped at a party the summer before she starts high school, and she calls the police because of that rape, and the party gets broken up, and because of that she loses all her friends. She doesn't tell them that she's been raped. No one knows that she's been sexually assaulted in this manner, but they all know that she called the cops to this party and that their party was ruined and there were consequences for this party, and so everyone kind of hates her as she moves into this new school year, her first year in high school. This was a really, really great book. The main character of Melinda was extremely relatable. She just had this inner voice and this kind of just general cynicism that I just related to a lot, and I just really appreciated her character. This book just felt really honest. Like, it had a really honest voice to how a lot of people do feel in high school, even if they haven't gone through necessarily what Melinda has been through. And the story was just so vivid. I just wanted to reach into the pages of this book and just comfort Melinda and just give her so much needed comfort and friendship. Like, that's how connected I kind of felt to her. I felt really awful for her in this book because, you know, a lot of people had bad experiences in high school, and I felt so bad for her, and I just wanted to comfort her and be her friend. This isn't just a book about rape. This is a book about depression, about not having a voice, it's just about so many things. To me, the message that I really took out of this book is you are not alone. And to me, that was just a really powerful message to have like put into this book. I mean, maybe some other people don't enjoy it and that's not a message that they took, but that is a message that I really got from this book. I think it is a really great book. I think more people should read it. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. I just think it's a book that everyone should look into and should read. So yeah, 4.5 stars. The next book that I picked up was The Healer by Virginia Boca. This is a novella in the Witch Hunter series. I read The Witch Hunter earlier in the year and I really enjoyed it. This is a novella that is centered around John. It is told from his point of view, and it is set before the events of the Witch Hunter novel, so it is technically 0.5 in the series. This was a really enjoyable novella to me. Of course, I always feel like novellas are too short, even though that is the nature of a novella, but I still really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed John's reading from John's point of view. It was just a really enjoyable novella that I definitely recommend picking up if you did enjoy The Witch Hunter, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. The next book that I read in October was Salem's Vengeance by Aaron Galvin. This was another book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to Ames and Abernathy Publishing and NetGalley for approving me to read this one. This book follows a 16-year-old main character, Sarah. It is set some years after, I'm not sure exactly how many years, I can't remember what year it's set, after the Salem kind of witch trials and all that has taken place. And it's not set in Salem, but Sarah like goes out to, like sneaks out at night and goes to this like dance, like in the fire, like, you know, in the fire, in the woods, and a lot of events kind of take place following that surrounding witchcraft and things like that. I don't want to say too much else because I don't want to give away the story. I love stories set around witches, and Salem and the witch trials is an area of history that I find extremely fascinating and one that I really enjoy reading about. And even though this wasn't set exactly in Salem, it does talk about those events a lot. I really enjoyed the main character, and I just really enjoyed the story in general. This is described to be a YA thriller. I'm not actually too sure that I would describe this as YA. It is definitely not for a younger YA audience. Like if you're only like 13, 14, like even like 15, I would not pick this book up. It is definitely for an older YA audience, if not an adult audience, in my opinion. But I definitely enjoyed this book. I can't wait. This is again the first book in what I believe is to be a trilogy. I'm really looking forward to picking up the next book because I really enjoyed this one, and I end up giving this one 4 stars. The next book that I read in October was Bloodwork by Michael Connolly. This is the first book in the Terry McCaleb series. I actually mentioned a very convoluted explanation of why I picked this story up when I hauled this book. This Terry McCaleb series is only 2 books, and the second book actually crosses over with Harry Bosch, and Harry Bosch is a series that I have been reading, and that is the book in the Harry Bosch series, the second book in this series that I am next up to in the Bosch series. I'm sorry, this is really confusing, but so I picked this one up because as it was only a 2-book series, I figured I might as well pick the first one up and then I can move into the second one, which deals with, I believe, the detective in this book, Terry McCaleb, and Harry Bosch, who I have been reading about previously. Sorry, that was very confusing, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So as I said, this book follows a detective, Terry McCaleb. He has recently undergone a heart transplant. So he is retired. He's recovering from this heart transplant. It's like maybe 2 or 3 months post-transplant surgery, and he's recovering nicely. And then a woman visits him, and she turns out to be the sister of the woman whose heart he has received, and she tells him that her sister, the woman whose heart he has, was actually murdered, and so he ends up looking into her murder to try and figure out what happened and why she died. I actually really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the mystery in this surrounding the murder. That was really good, and I also really quite enjoyed the detective of Terry McCaleb. He's quite different from Harry Bosch, the other detective who I've read about, and also quite different from Mickey Haller, which is another character series of Michael Connelly's that I've read. He's quite different, which I appreciate that Michael Connelly can write quite different leading characters. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed this. If you enjoy Michael Connelly and you haven't picked up these books, or just in general you like detective mystery stories, I would recommend this one. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And the final book that I picked up in October is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Grisha trilogy, as I'm sure you are all aware, and I was really excited to finally be able to pick this one up. This book follows a main character, Alina, who is living in a fantasy world. I believe it's set around Russia, where she, there are people in this world called Grisha who have like magical abilities, and you're tested when you're younger to see if you have these magical abilities. She does not have these magical abilities, she thinks, and then something happens. There is this kind of event that takes place, and it is revealed that she does have powers and that she is in fact a Grisha, and the story just kind of goes from there. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the characters. I really liked Alina. I really kind of related to her. I absolutely love the Darkling. I kept seeing in all like other videos when people would talk about this book on BookTube about how much they loved the Darkling, and you can't really appreciate it until you read it, but I really do love him. And in the beginning part of the story, I was actually like I really ship Alina and the Darkling. Am I not supposed to ship her with him? Because I really kind of do. And like in the beginning part of the story, and then I can totally, it was just really realistic to me. I could see why Alina was so drawn to the Darkling. I just really can relate, not relate, but I can understand why a child who was kind of an orphan and who was deprived of kind of like a lot of love when she was a child would be so drawn in and be so naive, kind of in the situation that she ends up with the Darkling. And it was really well done in my opinion. I also really enjoyed the character of Mal. I liked all the characters. I really enjoyed the story. I just overall really enjoyed this. I had a couple of small problems with it, which is why I ended up giving it 4.5 stars and not 5 stars. I felt like there could have been a bit more world building. I'm not kind of 100% on like some of the factors in this story, and I feel like that probably will be strengthened in book 2, which I'm looking forward to picking up soon. And I also didn't like that Alina seems to put a lot of emphasis in the story on looks, on how beautiful all these Grisha women are and things like that. But at the same time, I thought that was probably kind of realistic. I mean, teenage girls notice a lot about how other girls look and it's sad, we shouldn't, but we do. So, I said we, I'm not a teenager anymore, but I still do. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. As I said, I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. So those are all the books that I read in October. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you have any thoughts. Hopefully I'll have my November TBR up soon, and also my October book haul. I'm hoping to film both of those maybe this afternoon as well. So stay tuned for those. I'd love to talk to you guys down in the comments. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more. But that's all I've got for this video today. Bye guys.